Welcome, everybody, to the final score. I'm your host, Nicholas Marcinov, and today we are going to be talking about the Minnesota Wild clinching a playoff spot for the 2021 NHL Playoffs. This is a team that has really just came out of nowhere. They have been explosive. They got a lot of really neat young talent, two that have just been outstanding that I will talk about. And it has been re-energizing the franchise. I know a lot of Minnesota Wild fans are actually a lot more pleased and looking forward to games, whether they win or lose now, because of some of the young players that they do have. So let's just go ahead and talk about the Minnesota Wild for a little bit and see how they got here. The Minnesota Wild, as of April 25th, 2021, are 31, 13, and 3. I love how this looks, how symmetric it looks. Um, for 65 points, which is good enough for third in the West. They do have quite the big point trail on the fourth place in the West Division, and it will be a little interesting to see if they might be able to move up to the second spot or even the first spot. It would take a lot of work, but there's still about 10 games left, and anything can happen in hockey, as we are all aware of. But let's go ahead and talk about their top 3 points getter on the team. First, you have Kirill Kaprizov, their rookie uh, player who has 22 goals, 19 assists for 41 points. Now, the Minnesota Wild have only played about 46 to 48 games. Uh, this guy is almost averaging a point a game. He has been fantastic to watch on the ice. My little brother, who is a Minnesota Wilds fan, loves this dude, and he's one of my favorite players to watch. I just hope that he can continue the momentum going forward, even past this year. Right behind him is Kevin Fiala with 17 goals, 15 assists, and 32 points. Quite a big gap in points, if you ask me, between their number 1 point getter and their second points getter. For the third points getter is Mats Zuccarello with 10 goals, 19 assists, and 29 points. Once again, a huge gap between third and first place. I'm not too big of a fan of that, but it seems to be working for the Minnesota Wild. Uh, they have been fantastic, and just watching this core really go out there and just have fun has been a lot of fun for me as a viewer. Uh, but let's also talk about their goaltenders. You have Cam Talbot, who is 17, 6, and 3 with a 926 save percentage and a 2.33 goals against average. A former Calgary Flame, a former Edmonton Oiler. He's really just been the guy in Minnesota. He's been very productive. He's been saving the players' butts a lot of times. He's really just like reignited his whole career. It's been fantastic to see him. And right behind him is another rookie of theirs, Capo Kakinen, who is 14-7 and 0 with a 910 save percentage and a 2.68 goals against average. He's been fantastic to watch as well. Both he and Kirill have just been two of the bright spots for the Minnesota Wild this season. Two young rookies who I hope will continue to grow and develop into great superstars so the Minnesota Wild fan base can have something to look forward to. This has been a team that has made the playoffs in 8 of the 9 last season. And every time they go in there, they're not really going hunting for the Stanley Cup, if that is the right way to say it. Like, they never go deep. Um, and so, yeah, they make the playoffs, but they're not really improving. I just hope that with these two guys, they can really start to build a nice young core and go around with it. Uh, but what should we expect uh, with these guys? We should be expecting a lot of fun hockey, to be honest. The games in Minnesota are going to be fantastic. If they have to travel and everything, those games should also be a lot of fun. Whoever the Minnesota Wild end up playing in the playoffs is going to be a very fun series. And hopefully it'll get more eyes on Kirill and Capo. However, I have a feeling that it'll probably be Cam who will be starting in net, but that's besides the point. Who do they really want to face though? That's a little bit tough because right now they are basically locked into the third seed in the West, so they are going to be playing whoever comes from the two seed, and that could be either Vegas or the Colorado Avalanche. For the Minnesota Wild, they want Vegas Golden Knights. For some reason, the Vegas Golden Knights struggle a lot whenever they play the Minnesota Wild. And as we can see on this season, that seems to be the case as well. Uh, Minnesota has one of the only winning records against Vegas right now. So they really hope that they face the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. Uh, if they were to play the Colorado Avalanche, they could give Colorado a bit of a bug, but I would have to say that is a team that they do not want to see. And finally, do the Minnesota Wild need to win the cup? Now, this is not a prediction. This is not saying whether they will or will not win the cup. This is just saying, do the Wild need to win the cup this year? And the answer is no. They don't need to win the cup. They're really just starting to get things going and starting to learn more about themselves as a team. They don't need this cup. What they do need is to show a good presence, get a lot of experience for Kirill and Capo Kakinen, uh, and just going forward, just learn from the experience so that they can continue to build around these two young stars. So they don't need to win. Right now, they're playing with house money. And if you ask the Vegas Golden Knights, playing with house money can be very deadly for the competition. But what do you guys think? I think that they are going to be a very, very fun team in the playoffs. And I'm excited to see what happens. But that's all three teams that have clinched the playoffs thus far. And ironically enough, they all come from the West Division. I think this does show that probably the West Division had the weakest lower half of all the divisions thus far. But anything can happen, and we'll see just where it goes. And that's the final score. Thank you, and good night.